What made us fat? A person would have to be living in a cave to not know that we have an epidemic of obesity in the U.S. It started in the 1980s, and now roughly 2 out of 3 adults are at least overweight. The question is, why? You deserve to know why. We all deserve to know. And you'll be surprised to find out that it's probably not your fault that your body wants to store fat. Let's look at the evidence and see what science has to tell us about the most likely cause of this epidemic of people who are storing fat. Is it because we don't get enough exercise? Probably not. The CDC says we're exercising more, not less. Gym memberships have skyrocketed, and so is running. If it's not a lack of exercise, then it has to be because we're eating more. Starting in the 1980s, there was a steep increase in calories per day, 200 calories a day for men and 300 a day for women. Day after day, year after year, it does add up. So the next question is, why were some of us suddenly eating more? Animals in the wild have self-regulating appetites. They eat what they need and don't get fat unless they're supposed to. What has happened to those of us who got fat over the last 35 years? What happened to our self-regulating appetites? Is it a massive loss of willpower? Too many treats we just can't resist? That's not what the evidence shows. During these same years, people have had the willpower to make culturally recommended changes in their lives. They stopped smoking, started wearing seatbelts, teens are drinking less, severe binge drinking is down, more teens are staying in school, and more people are getting a college education. These things all take a great deal of willpower. You probably have tons of willpower in other areas of your life, don't you? There's no evidence that a sudden nationwide loss of willpower has caused the increase in overweight people. If it's not a lack of willpower, then why are we eating more? Has something gone haywire in our bodies? If every other animal on the planet has a self-regulating appetite, surely we should too. Why did we get hungrier starting right here? What changed? In 1977, the USDA issued its first ever dietary guidelines for Americans. Before that, the government didn't really take a position on diet. When it did, it made a very strong recommendation that people eat more carbohydrate and less fat. The newly minted food pyramid recommended a whole lot of grain-based foods and a lot of fruits and vegetables, which appear from the diagram to be equal in their healthfulness. A banana is the same as broccoli by these rules. We weren't supposed to eat much meat and very little fat. That's when the shift began, and we suddenly became a nation of fat-free fanatics. The evidence shows that Americans did exactly as they were told. In the following decades, our intake of fat and meat went down, and grains went way up. On average, we're eating 50 pounds more per person per year than when those guidelines first came out. Many of us have gained weight eating as the government recommended. Is it possible that following those guidelines made some people more hungry? Did something override their natural self-regulating appetite? There's quite a bit of evidence that it did. You deserve to hear all the evidence and make up your own mind about how you think you should eat. That's what it's all about here at the Healthy Dimensions program. Understanding how your body and your brain actually work, and using the power of that knowledge to transform your life. Let's start with the evidence about our original human diet. What did we evolve to eat? How is it different from how we eat now? For 1.7 million years, our ancestors were hunter-gatherers. That's 99% of our evolutionary history. Humans ate meat, favored the fattiest part of the animal, and supplemented with whatever grasses, tubers, nuts, eggs, and fruits they could find, in season, but meat was the staple. Paleobiologists have determined the hunter-gatherer diet was around 60% fat, 30% protein, and 10% carbohydrate. Then, just 10,000 years ago, everything changed. We started agriculture. Farming led to readily available high carbohydrate foods. It fueled a population explosion, but it didn't make us healthier. Archaeological discoveries have shown that when farming started, Homo sapiens suffered. They found evidence that humans got shorter, had more anemia, malnutrition, infectious disease, and their lifespan dropped by 25%. Geneticists tell us that it takes 10,000 generations to adapt to a significant environmental change, and we've only completed about 500 since the dawn of agriculture. It's only been 10 generations since the age of industrialized food, where the masses started having ready access to refined flour and sugar. Studies of the last few surviving hunter-gatherer cultures reveal that as soon as they began eating a Western diet, they developed the hallmark diseases of civilization, like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. Hunter-gatherers were healthier with their high-fat, low-carb diet. Today, our American diet aligns nicely with what we've been told to do. We currently eat about 34% fat, 16% protein, and 50% carb. This is really different than what our ancestors ate. The USDA guidelines were clearly not based on how we evolved to eat. Why are their recommendations so different? Is there evidence that a low-fat diet is good for everybody? We'll find out how we got here in the next video.